Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers on the broadcast today, part 2 of my interview with Mark Hutchison, the former Lieutenant Governor. On this show, it's all about politics, the Supreme Court, and the executive branch. He's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain. And for over 90 years, the Nevada Trucking Association has been the voice for the men and women in the trucking industry. From Carson City to Washington, D.C., we advocate for policies to protect our trucking companies and keep commerce flowing. Because Nevada's and America's prosperity is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're about to kick off part 2 of our interview with former Lieutenant Governor Mark Hutchison. He was the 34th Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Nevada. We've done one show about your mission for the Mormon Church. Now we got to talk about the real issues here, which are politics. Yeah. So it's great to have you. First of all, why didn't you run for re-election in 2018 as Lieutenant Governor? I mean, you could have had a lengthy career and ended up potentially being governor one day. And you almost were going to be governor.
Yeah, boy, there was just a point in time there where just I wondered, what exactly my political future was going to be, given all those dynamics that were going on that you're referring to. You know what? I felt like I had accomplished and done what I wanted to do as Lieutenant Governor, and I felt like, along with Brian Sandoval, we had accomplished a lot together. I was a wonderful friend and a great fan of Brian Sandoval, and when he finished, I wanted to be finished with him.
Do you feel that both Sandoval and yourself were more statesman-like than partisan-like, even though you both are supporters of a party, but it seems that you adopted, in both cases, a bigger picture?
Well, I appreciate that, and I think that Governor Sandoval, and I won't speak for him, but just observing him, was in every way a statesman and was every way just a man of class and character, and just incompetency. And I think he really tried hard to just do what was best for Nevada. That, and you've been doing this a while, Sam, that's in the best tradition of Nevada governors and Nevada elected officials. Let's put Nevada first. And I think that was Brian Sandoval. And people will say to me, well, what was Brian Sandoval like? Or, how do I understand Brian Sandoval? I remember, when I was his lieutenant governor. And I'd say the best way to understand Brian Sandoval is to remember that he is what he did before he became governor, which was he was a federal judge. And so he would analyze issues, he would look at them carefully, he would weigh the considerations, but I don't think just based on partisanship, he he favored one side or the other, or one solution over the other. I think he was very balanced and came to a very rational, reasoned conclusion. And man, oh man, do we miss that kind of approach. I'll say this about Joe Lombardo, which I know we'll get into in just a minute. I think Joe Lombardo comes out of that same tradition. I think he is a man of character, competence, class, and somebody who puts Nevada first. And so I'm just grateful to be his friend and have an opportunity to help him in this re-election cycle.
You know, it's and you were the lead supporter in the last campaign, along with Sig Rogich.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Lombardo is an interesting character for a lot of reasons. You know, as a former cop, top cop in Clark County, he is privileged to a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, and it has to weigh heavily on him. In knowing so much and yet being able to talk so little about a lot of areas. And you served in some of the areas that I'm referring to. For example, cybersecurity.
Yeah.
What did you think at the time? Because I've had cybersecurity experts on the program who talk about how we've secured the front door of Nevada technology, but we left the back door wide open. And then we had this huge cyber attack recently.
Right.
So address that first. What were your thoughts on that and the possible holes in that for us?
Yeah, and you're right. You know, the governor, as the former sheriff and now as the current governor, has got a lot of knowledge about a lot of things. And I think, you know, there are different things that keep him up at night. And I know that, you know, making sure that we secure our infrastructure within the state is one of the things that he puts at the very top of his list, and, you know, keeps him up at night. And he wants to make sure that the state is safe and our infrastructure is safe and people aren't shut down with services and with government opportunities because of some infrastructure problem. I think that what Joe Lombardo was so good at is being on top of issues like that, and then surrounding himself with people who are competent and experts and understanding the problems and having them go to work on it, and him being the boss, him being the leader, but letting people who really understand those kind of things. That's very technical issues. You know, that's cybersecurity. He knows what the problems are, he knows what the challenges are. Now let's get the best people we can get. And I think we've got some of the best in state government on it.
Well, you know, that's one of the interesting things about his former job as the head of Metro. He can't do every job, but he is responsible for running a massive organization that has to deal literally with so many serious issues on every level, from staffing to security, not just cybersecurity, but homeland security, because Las Vegas especially is a huge target. Now, you also served in homeland security. What was your feeling? Because I always think, you know, when you get elected to something, you go in thinking one thing.
Yeah.
And I always get the sense that there's somebody who comes up to you right after the day of election and puts their arm around you and go, okay, now you're elected. Let me fill you in on the real details of how this job works and where the bathrooms are, right?
Right.
The two most important things. So what were your thoughts, without revealing any secrets, when you started to understand the issues with Homeland Security in the state of Nevada?
Yeah, and I was on that committee with the governor when I was LG, and first off, I didn't know about some of the threats. You know, that becomes pretty sobering in a hurry. And you're right, you know, Las Vegas, what do we track? 53 million visitors a year, entertainment capital of the world. The heart of our economy is tourism.
And massive buildings.
And massive buildings, right? And, you know, and when we had a terrible tragedy, you know, who was our leader who stepped up? That was Joe Lombardo, you know, during the Harvest Festival tragedy that occurred. And I watched him. You know, I had been in these committee meetings with him, and he would go through the plans about what Metro has in place and all the different command centers and the strategy and the professionals that are spread through all throughout Clark County for any kind of event, including this kind of an event. And then I saw in real time how he handled it. So I saw sort of the plan, Sam, and then I saw the practice. And you don't get to pick your timing on that. You don't get to pick the tragedy or what happens. But when that hits, you know what, I think that's when, and I've told people this before, that's when I knew we had a real leader as a sheriff. He wasn't grandstanding. He wasn't taking partisan shots at anybody. He had a Democrat governor at the time, right? I mean, it was professionalism all the way through.
One of the sobering interviews I've done was with Doug Cannon of MB Energy when he was the head of MB Energy. and we were talking about, the potential for the grid to fail, whether it was terrorism or just, problems with the electric grid, and what would happen if it went down.
Yeah.
And he said that if it went down completely, then the only non-computer, and I'm paraphrasing, but the only non-computer related system they had was they could fire up a coal-fired plant in southern Nevada, and it would take 6 weeks. And I thought to myself, I can't even imagine 6 weeks without electricity in a major city like Las Vegas.
Yeah, and and then there'd be these reports that you would hear about these electromagnetic attacks that could happen, right? That could happen, that could shut down the entire system. And that, that's a wake-up call for everybody. And I think that's been, on the radar screen for 10 years.
Oh yeah,
easily. And that's what, those are the kind of things that you worry about. Those are the kind of things that we have to do all we can to, to harden ourselves against. But let's be realistic about that. Some kind of attack like that, that's going to take the federal government and be thinking about, and I know the federal government has systems and have plans in place for that kind of thing. But that would be catastrophic. Yeah, we'd be back to the dark ages. We'd be living in caves, with no electricity. And that's a serious. I think that's one of the most pressing issues that gets underreported and under-evaluated.
Well, I think in some cases, because people just in the media just don't want to scare the heck out of the public.
That's right.
Because it would cause panic.
Oh yeah, but there are enemies of this country who could come in. I'm sure we have the same capabilities. And maybe it's
I certainly hope so.
And maybe it's just
and I'm not even joking. When we hear about the threats to the United States of all kinds, I think to myself, okay, but I know that our government is working, to defend ourselves and to be, pro and ready for any attack that needs to be done on somebody else, because we can't afford to be weak.
No, and it's just
not with $1 trillion budget, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, we would just the United States economy would crater, jobs would be gone, families would suffer, individuals would suffer, and it's probably kind of one of these things. I'm just speculating now, Sam. Kind of one of these mutually assured destruction things, like don't do this to us because we can do it to you.
Right, and that's the whole point of what I'm saying, is that it's not just because that's what the media tends to write about, is the threat to us.
Yep.
But it's our threats to others, because we have spent an incredible amount of money to It looks like a huge number, but if it protects the United States, then I'm fine with that. Let's take a break and we'll talk about more local politics after this time out.
You're in trouble with the law. It's easy to think you'll lose everything, but there is hope. I'm attorney Orrin Johnson. Your first step is to hire a serious attorney with the experience to successfully navigate the legal system for you.
Sometimes hope means addiction treatment instead of jail, and making sure you're treated fairly.
Sometimes hope means fearless trial attorneys will stand up to the government when they get it wrong. Call or text Orrin Johnson Law.
We'll make a plan.
You'll take back your life.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
It's the most wonderful time to win during the $125,000 Holiday Cash Frenzy at Tamarack Casino. Every Saturday, unwrap thousands in cash and free play. Don't miss the grand finale December 27th. We're gifting $20,000 in cash guaranteed. 'Tis the season for good times at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with the former 34th Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Nevada, Mark Hutchison. You practiced before the United States Supreme Court on a couple of different occasions. What's your take on the current makeup of the court and its positioning with both the administration and the American public?
It's a great question. And this is an unprecedented time for the court. The court is faced with more questions about executive authority and the scope of the executive branch of government than any other court. And for two reasons. One is that Donald Trump likes to push that scope of his executive authority. And that's just the President of the United States. That's who he is. He's going to push that scope. And then the Democrats or others who are opposing to him, just not wanting him to be able to exercise much executive authority at all. And so the court members are the ones who have to arbitrate that. And it's just, that's what's really filled their docket. And there's this emergency docket, and they're constantly having to deal with these emergency petitions to the U.S. Supreme Court. And so, in one way, I feel a little bit sorry for them because they don't have the time that they usually take to be very deliberative about this process and about these key questions. But on the other hand, what an opportunity for the court to try to get it right and to really shape the constitutional history of this country going forward. And it will. This is not about Donald Trump. This is about the President of the United States. And everything that Donald Trump is going to be allowed to do, the President of the United States is going to be allowed to do. If Donald Trump can unilaterally put tariffs on countries because he didn't like their political policies or approaches, well, then a future AOC, right, can do that. And so that's what we always have to keep in mind. This is for the president, not just Donald Trump.
Right. And so you bring up a whole bunch of things right in there. One is this part of the strategy, which is to throw so many things out there that get challenged in district court and federal courts, that make their way to the Supreme Court, that the court system is overwhelmed and therefore things get pushed through just because, like you said, there isn't enough time? Does that concern you?
Well, I'm not sure if that's the strategy for the administration, but
not the administration, but perhaps the Heritage Foundation, the people who are driving the concept of this presidency. Because the thing that people don't understand, and it's kind of fascinating, but the presidency isn't one person.
Right.
It's hundreds, if not thousands of people involved in all these different departments, making all kinds of decisions. It's the permanent undersecretaries or semi-permanent undersecretaries, not even the secretaries, that run the country. And so it's not just one person. It comes under one person's name and it's their legacy.
Right.
It's not one person.
No, it's all these agencies, right? And that's what a lot of the fight's about right now constitutionally, is that Congress created a lot of these what are called independent agencies. And President Trump is saying that's not an independent agency. There's only 3 branches of government. It's got to fall under one of these branches. There isn't a 4th branch. And for years, I think in this country, we treated these independent agencies like a 4th branch of government. There's only 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. And what Donald Trump is saying, and I think his administration, and maybe those who are driving, or helping to drive or maybe shape the agenda, are saying, let's get this back to what they thought the founders had in mind, which was agencies for the federal government are tied to the president. They're tied to the executive branch of government. And if you don't like what agencies are doing, then what you need to do is fire the president in the next election rather than just have some agency outside of the executive branch of government. Let's keep them all under the executive branch of government. And if you don't like what they're doing, if you don't like what the FCC is doing, the FAA is doing, fire the president because he's responsible for all of them. We haven't always had that approach in this country. There's been sort of this 4th branch of government, these independent agencies that were sort of accountable to neither Congress nor the executive branch. And that's, I think, one of the big fights right now.
Okay, would you do away with the Fed?
That, the Supreme Court has itself said that Fed is different and is a kind of a real true kind of hybrid. I like an independent Fed. I like an independent Fed. I think that's one of those agencies that I could see remaining independent.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. More on politics with Mark Hutchison after this timeout.
This holiday season, say aloha to winning big with the Carson Valley Inn's $250,000 Hawaiian holiday giveaways. Unwrap the fun with $500 Southwest gift cards and mini vacations every Saturday. And $60 grand in grand prize Hawaiian vacations or cash. The islands are calling, only at the Carson Valley Inn.
It happens. And when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Mark Hutchison. He's the former lieutenant governor of the great state of Nevada. Okay, so, when it came to the filibuster, Harry Reid got rid of it for federal judges because he felt that under the Obama administration, that the line of people that were there to be sworn in were not getting taken care of because of the Congress. So he lifted the filibuster. As you mentioned earlier, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Right.
And all of a sudden now the filibuster is gone for Supreme Court justices.
Yes.
You have to be very careful with what you push when you're president because it may come back to, or leader of Congress, it may come back to bite you.
Yeah, and that's what's the genius of the constitutional system of government that we have. It is built on compromise. It's built on checks and balances. The whole concept of the Constitution, the reason we rebelled, early in our history against the British is because we don't want a monarch, right? You've heard of these no kings and marches, and I take and beg to differ that there's any king in America. There isn't. There's 3 branches of government, and thank God in heaven that there is. I don't want any kind of consolidation of power in one branch of government. What I want are 3 separate branches, co-equal, and a lot of balancing going on, checks and balances, and compromise. Because I'm not thinking of Donald Trump in the White House. I'm thinking of, heaven forbid, a future AOC in the White House. And what I want are checks and balances so that there's not just this concentration of power in one branch of government. And that's the big question. And that is what we as conservatives and Republicans have to always remember. We, as much as we love the policies that may be implemented now, as much as we may be on that side of the political aisle, one day we won't be. And the constitutional system of government that we have of checks and balances and 3 branches of government saves us from a future, heaven forbid, President AOC.
All right, so what happens when you have 2 branches that are going full tilt, in this case the Supreme Court and the White House, the executive branch, but the Congress seems to be asleep?
I know. And that's a big problem.
That's huge.
It's huge. And Congress is Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, right? That is where the power of the people reside, because we elect our representatives every 2 years in the House, every 6 years in the Senate. They go to Washington, D.C., they represent us. They're very responsive to us because they got to come back up and stand for re-election. And then we have a president who's elected, across the country, and we have a court that's appointed. The most responsive branch of government is executive, the congressional legislative branch of government. And for whatever reason, and it's happened over decades, Sam, they have just abdicated their responsibilities, and they've delegated so much to the executive branch, and they are so paralyzed by partisanship, particularly now. I mean, partisanship's always been around, but it seems like we're just paralyzed by partisanship now. And everybody's got either the red jersey on or the blue jersey on, and no one's coming in with a purple jersey on that we used to have to rely on so much. And we should rely on more in the future. Why? Because this system was based on compromise. The greatest compromise in the history of the United States, I tell my conservative friends, is the United States Constitution. Never would have come into being. Never would have come into being if it hadn't been for the founding fathers who compromised and came up with this miraculous document called the United States Constitution.
We'll take another break. We'll be right back.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year. and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on the program here with Mark Hutchison, the former Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Nevada, a huge supporter, obviously, of Governor Lombardo. How tough is this fight going to be between Governor Lombardo and Aaron Ford?
Well, we're in the midterm elections, and Republicans in the White House. And so historically, we got to be concerned about turnout. This election is going to be about turnout. Joe Lombardo, without question, deserves to be reelected. And the Republicans need to turn out in massive numbers because we know the Democrats will be turning out in massive numbers.
Okay, but what about the nonpartisans? Does that concern you, the number?
I think the nonpartisans are with Joe Lombardo, so I think that's a plus for him.
Well, okay, with no statistical information to back that up, but I see your confidence. Mark Hutchison, a pleasure to have you back
So
here.
good to be with you.
Thank you so much for doing 2 programs with us. It's been a great pleasure.
Absolutely loved it, Sam. Thank you so much.
We'll see you again soon.
All right.
And we'll be right back.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. You can also download the podcasts from your favorite podcast app. We'll see you on the next broadcast.